The cabinet approves the political program to resolve the crisis in Syria until the national charter is adopted. Snow falls in Damascus and several other areas, and persisting rain in most of the governorates ushering for a good season. More than 5 million students start their midterm exams. Good afternoon and welcome to our news for today. The Council of Ministers approves the political program to resolve the crisis in Syria, which explains the tasks that the Syrian government will work on until the adoption of the national charter, which will be agreed upon by the people through a national dialogue, ensuring an emphasis on political pluralism and the basic principles of unity of the Syrian people and the territorial integrity, refusing any interference, renouncing the violence and terrorism in all its forms. The Council of Ministers also decided to form a ministerial team headed by the Prime Minister to implement the plans of the government regarding the political program to resolve the crisis in Syria. In this regard, the Council of Ministers called on the international community to support a political solution to the crisis in Syria and to work on combating all forms of terrorism and to be committed to implement the United Nations resolutions, including the cessation of providing weapons to the terrorist groups. The Council of Ministers also gave its directives to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates to hold regional and international communication to explain the program and to call for supporting it. With regard to field work, the Council of Ministers asked the Higher Relief Committee to provide humanitarian aid and facilitate their access to beneficiaries in collaboration with the NGOs and the civil society organizations and relevant international organizations in and outside Syria. Snow and heavy rains fell in Damascus today in most areas over the past 24, heralding a promising agricultural season. Temperatures have remarkably dropped, particularly in Arne, where snows were 1 meter thick, while in Sueda 12 centimeters and Latakia 15 centimeters. In Homs, the Education Directorate has decided to postpone the exams of the first subject for primary and secondary schools students till the end of the blizzard. The Meteorology Department has expected the snowfalls to continue over most areas and the weather to remain cloudy and rainy in the coastal region, accompanied by thunderstorms. President Bashar al-Assad has issued the legislative decree number 3 of 2013 that stipulates the establishment of the National Center for Curriculum Development. The decree aims at suggesting the general objectives and education and preparing relevant curriculum for the various phases, as well as amending set books in light of the scientific, educational and social developments. Syria, the Homeland Party, has stressed that the political program presented by President Bashar al-Assad to solve the crisis in Syria constitutes a good and positive basis for a comprehensive national dialogue. In a statement, the party referred to the need of holding a comprehensive national dialogue conference on Syrian territories, affirming rejection of any attempt to encroach on the country's sovereignty. On its part, the Bar Association has described President al-Assad's initiative as reflecting a national vision that embodies the aspirations of all honest citizens in Syria. In a statement, the association expressed readiness to offer all potentials and in all domains in order to take part in all the details of dialogue, relying on the expertise of its cadres with a view of rendering successful this historical program which protects Syria. On the other hand, the Vocational Union described President al-Assad's political program as providing an accurate analysis of the reality of the crisis and as originating from a sincere feeling of the people's concerns and aspirations to restore national cohesion and obstruct the schemes of Western and pseudo-Arab forces that aim at patrioting the homeland. More than 5 million students have started their semester exams with strong determination and perseverance, challenging the circumstances Syria is living. The Minister of Education has taken all necessary measures to render successful the exams process in all Syrian governorates. Minister of Education Hazwan al-Waz toured a number of schools and stressed that the government has been keen to provide all necessary requirements to render the exams process successful. Russian envoy to the Middle East, Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov, said today that a trilateral meeting among the UN envoy to Syria, Lakhdar al-Ibrahimi, and representatives of Russia and the US concerning Syria will be held in Geneva on the 11th of January. Bogdanov pointed out that he will represent the Russian party in the forthcoming meeting, in which al-Ibrahimi's report on the latest developments of the situation in Syria will be discussed, while the US party will be represented by Under-Secretary of State William Burns. The first trilateral meeting was held on the 10th of December in Geneva and was called the Meeting of the Three Bs. As they continue to chase fleeing terrorists, an army unit has eliminated 6 armed men who were trying to plant mines on a Taif-Haya road in Hama suburbs. In Homs suburbs, an army unit pursued fleeing terrorists in At-Tiba and Teldo in Al-Hule, inflicting heavy losses on them. Another unit destroyed a bus that was carrying terrorists and weapons in Al-Qusayr farms. As they continue to target national cadres, terrorists yesterday assassinated lawyer Hatem Deeb in Damascus. A source at Damascus Police Command said the terrorists opened fire at Deeb while he was at his office in Ain al-Kirsh area. The Palestinian Revolution factions in Syria reiterated their calls for keeping Palestinian camps out of the crisis in Syria, particularly Yarmouk camp, which is a symbol for the refugees' cause and the right to return. In a statement announced in a press conference on Tuesday, representatives of the factions said that the main goal now is returning the people of Yarmouk camp to it to pursue their normal lives and continue working for the cause of ending the Israeli occupation and returning refugees to their homes from which they were driven out in 1948. The factions voiced their unanimous agreement on a ceasefire in the camp and their calls for gunmen to withdraw for it to end its locals' state of homelessness. In Libya, a state of chaos and lack of security continues after gunmen fired indiscriminately on the University of the Kafra in the city of Al-Jamil. Immediately, clashes erupted between the gunmen and the Libyan armed forces, killing 2 gunmen and injuring 3 students. Workers at the employment office in Al-Jamil city west of Tripoli suspended work after the attack by the armed group and asked the authorities to intervene in order to protect them. The Amnesty International asked the Saudi authorities to release the women arrested in the country's prisons. Amnesty International said that the Saudi security forces are still holding 11 women that have been arrested during a gathering that included women and children in front of the court in the city of Bride to protest against the arrest of their relatives as part of the so-called anti-terrorist operations by the authorities. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more news about Syria and the region, and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. And now to latest business and market news with Khalid Saqabani after a short break.